Hi Albertans and my beautiful blessed province, Alberta. We're right here again. Yet again, we have with us another beautiful human. That's Paul Godard. The man is not only a hard-working soul, but he feels that if you have the right soul in the feet and the right soul here, you can make a real change. So without any other delay, let Paul introduce himself. And this beautiful candidate from the Alberta Party is the candidate from the Alberta Party for the constituency of Calgary Bow. And here we are sitting in the community center and talking to him. So let's talk about you, Paul.
Good morning. Really to start off, you know, I'm coming up on 60 years old now.
Wow.
But I've been retired for, goodness, 12 years now. Took an early retirement, became a stay-at-home dad. My wife wanted to continue to work.
Wow.
It was the best and hardest job in the world to be a stay-at-home dad, to make sure you went to the children's outings, volunteered with the school. And that's what really got me interested into politics, was the volunteer aspect of it.
Wow. A stay-at-home dad, interested in politics, giving the woman the wings, being the wings, the power under her wings. Isn't that beautiful?
You know, and with my children, I think while they've done a really good job maturing and growing up, they're going to be really good citizens. And I think a little bit has to do with me, just because I was there all the time. They didn't enjoy it, but now that they're older, I think they really see how important it was to have somebody from the family with them as they grew up.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a hard decision. Do we have two incomes and get all the toys and everything? And our children's lives were much more important. And to have them grow up as responsible people was our goal.
Talks a lot about him. Priorities in place, huh? All priorities in place.
Yeah.
Women empowerment, time to kids.
Yes.
So he knows about education, it seems.
Definitely.
He knows about politics. That's why he's the candidate. He knows, you know, that women are important, and they have to be an important part of our community and stand neck to neck with men. So Paul, when you were choosing a party,
Yes.
were you always, I mean, most of the people of this province have always been, honestly, you know, progressive conservatives.
Yes.
So how did your thing to start with the Alberta Party begin?
Well, I used to be a card-carrying holder of the CP. I'm saying UCP, but they weren't UCP. The
Okay.
PCs. Back in the day, and a lot of it had to do with Peter Lougheed.
Okay.
When Peter Lougheed was the premier of the province, I actually met him personally. He was just doing some door knocking, and he came into the backyard, introduced himself to myself and my friends. Our parents were wherever, times were different then. And I was so impressed with this grown man, who would put time and effort into us young kids. You know, we were probably 13 or 14 years old.
Okay.
And it really opened up my eyes that there were bigger and more important things out there in the world.
Wow.
So when I was old enough, I became a card-carrying PC member. And I really thought at that time we were in a good spot in Alberta. But as things seemed to progress, they just didn't fit with my beliefs anymore. And as time gone on, their idea of how the province should be ran is so different than my personal beliefs.
So what was the turn-off? What was the turn-off button, as we say, when you decided you're parting ways with PC?
You know, it was the elected officials being better than their constituents. You know, the grand parties, the boys club. And even though our MLA for a long time was a woman, she was definitely part of the boys club.
Oh.
And if you didn't really put a lot of money into the party, you weren't really accepted. So just being a constituent wasn't good enough. You had to finance and plan things for the party, and it was just, things just didn't feel right.
So your relationship ended because you felt that it was more important to have an ideology and a righteousness in your mind and to consciousness to know what's better for the constituency than have the money.
Correct.
Money has its ways, Paul.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, you can't win an election without money, which is sad. But one thing they did do was put a limit on how much a person can contribute, which is really good. It's kind of hard for us because I'd like to put a lot more money into my campaign and the party in general.
Yes.
But being at the limit, I'm at the limit.
But isn't it good, Paul, that it is that puts a line to it that if you're a good candidate, you've been there with the people, you've been there with the community, you would not need that kind of a money. You would need the money to put out your point. But then, then beyond that, it's community engagement. It's the right outreach is use going out there. Then the message is going out there. So you end up spending on the message more.
Well, exactly. And with the message, it doesn't really cost a lot of money. You know, when you deliver food hampers, which now are actually the cards, to a family that's actually really in need, not doing it for the political end of it, doing it because it's something that has to be done, you bring kind of a calm into the community. Again, I've had my children involved. They've learned from an early age that we are so fortunate to be in the position that we're at. But just down the street, there's people that are having a really hard time, especially now.
Yes, after COVID, I think tables have just turned, and nobody actually knows what is the need of the hour and what they're supposed to do actually. Because we've been thrown out into the most unpredictable zones, whether economically or the social side. We don't know what to do. So anybody who comes needs to have very innovative out-of-the-box ideas how to stabilize the situations.
Right.
And so when we look at the Alberta Party, what was it about the Alberta Party that you just thought, you know, this was, because there are other regional parties as well. There are a lot of other parties.
Mm-hmm.
There are the the Liberals here.
Liberals, yes.
Then there's the Advantage Party over here.
Yes.
Then
we have the Greens.
We have the Greens. We have the Independent.
Yes.
We have many of them. What is it that connection happened with the Alberta Party?
You know, I think it was the people I dealt with originally. It was the honesty and the way that they wanted their candidates to behave. You know, it's more about the constituents again, and not about the party as a whole. We're still a very stuck together party.
That's right.
But it's the way that even our leader had mentioned. I've done a lot of work with him. You know, your constituents come first.
Very true. In fact, that was my discussion with Barry, and he says, we just want the people who have a similar mindset, but they have their own personality. The ideology of the party is to be with the people, to be the party of the people, but have their own ideology and their way to do things rather than handing the mandates. Not have puppets.
Right, exactly. So, and again, that puppet thing was, you know, the boys club.
Yes.
You know, you're appointed to a position where you can make a lot of money if you do what your leader says, or leaders. With us, it's not about the money, it's about what we can do for people. And Calgary Bow, it's so diverse. We have people living in poverty, I mean real poverty, to multi-millionaires. Yeah,
the neighborhoods are very different from each other. So from cats to dogs, to actually people, you have a lot of, I think you have a lot of drug abuse issue also in this specific constituency. You know? And what's the crime rate for this constituency?
It actually varies from area to area.
Okay.
Bowness, the crime rates, it's high, but it's not crazy. And I think because here in Bowness, it's more of a community.
Okay.
And we have a lot of people that work very hard to try to stem that. Where I live in Crestmont, we're actually on the end of the city. Yeah. It's quite hard to get into.
It's actually the corner.
Yes. And, you know, it's a beautiful community, but we had a murder there 2 years ago.
You did?
A fellow was shot on the pathway in the middle of the day. Do you know what I mean? So the finance, or the financial stability of the community doesn't really ring with the crime. Here in Bowness, you probably look at more car prowlings and things.
Yeah. So what are the issues if you look at Calgary Bow as a constituency with its neighborhoods and its demographics and the people? What is actually the concerns of this constituency that you feel that you need to get into it, that you are the real change agent, and this is what Paul can do?
It's about the healthcare and a lot with the drug abuse.
Okay.
Myself and all my vehicles, I run with a Narcan kit.
Okay.
I've used it twice, which still bothers me a lot. People have said to me, why would you want to even save somebody like that? And how would somebody ever get better or change their life around if they're dead?
Definitely.
And death is hangs over me like it's something that when I see what happens in the community, in the dumpster, in the back alley, a person's life is so incredibly important, and just because they're in a bad place right now doesn't mean they're a bad person.
I think it's circumstances, right?
Yes.
So whenever I've met a lot of candidates, and we don't talk about controversial issues. That's exactly what I was telling you. Because whatever you are today, I believe it's the end result of whatever you've gone through, how you faced them, where you slipped, where you got up again.
Right.
And you yourself have been a structural worker. You've been through, you've done a lot of work. You've done a lot of hard work. So I think people like you who've come from the ground and who understand the gravity are actually those people who don't run away from work. They don't shirk away from responsibilities. And when you shoulder responsibilities, I think specifically a constituency like this, which is so diverse, needs somebody who understands from the twigs to the poles, from the lights to the buildings. That's what it's needed.
Yes,
to know.
definitely.
So, what are your specific qualities that you feel that the constituency should vote for you?
I think a lot of it has the life experience I've had. Like I said, with the two overdoses, there was one that by the time we discovered the fellow, he already had passed away. My work with the Victim Services Unit for the City Police.
Okay.
And with the police in general, just being a community advocate, they know that a lot of people don't want the police involved. They don't want social services involved. They want somebody who's really not connected to the agencies, but somebody who would be able to get them a food hamper, or maybe get them some mental health up at the Foothills Hospital. Things like that. It's being stuck in the province and the way things are now. We just have to really come together as human beings and really help each other
100%.
out. It sounds very, there's no glamour in it. There's with the lady down the street who got out of the hospital, couldn't shovel her a walk. It was up to me to shovel it. Nobody else stepped up. And it just, those little things are what I think is really important.
I think the community leader has to lead in a way and become more exemplary and an inspiration than to just hold the power of being the political guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think some of these things that you're mentioning are exemplary for the society, of helping people, knowing it all. And I don't see any reason right now in your community not looking at you as the right candidate. And it sounds that if you can be there, you will do a good job.
Well,
and that hall definitely needs people like you. The Legislative Assembly definitely needs people with diverse thoughts. The point of views of different communities will only reflect in when people like you actually take the responsibility and just say, my shoulders are there, give me the responsibility.
Yes, and I do have wide shoulders. I can take a lot. It's just one of those things that I've always had as my personality.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just really lucky. We grew up really poor in Calgary, but we had never gone hungry.
God bless you.
And my parents never had to steal to get food to feed us.
So you always worked on something or the other. You was always something that you either volunteer campaign or something? You've always been on to something or the other?
Most definitely, and I think that's why I'm still mentally acute. I still have this passion in me where I have to get up in the morning at 5, sometimes 4:30.
Oh wow!
Send my wife off to work, and then I have my day before I pick up my daughter to do things around the community. I'm a member of every community association in Calgary Bow.
Wow!
Plus one in the Northeast.
Okay.
I just thought it's very important to know what's going on in the community if you want to help people out. Yeah. We're just starting up on the spring cleaning season with the City of Calgary.
Wow.
And that's one of my favorite things. I like collecting.
That's
garbage.
interesting. So what's your take presently on the political status of the province? It's very important to know what does a person of the community who's so involved with the community and so passionately as you are, what is your take on the present political scenario of Alberta?
Politically, two things that really come to mind is healthcare and education.
Yeah.
When the NDP were in power, they asked people like myself, teachers, administrators, to work on a new school curriculum.
Yeah.
And I don't say I was in and out of it for probably about 3 years. Okay. And a lot of just giving my own opinion and working with the people that really know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I think just being a male and having a different view on things helped out. The present government came in and squashed that instantly and put in their own curriculum. And what really bothered me about that was there was 3 years of work and there was still a lot more to do, and it was just thrown away for no particular reason other than a political thing. And that's an issue with the healthcare as well. We live in a province and a country where we should have people just scrambling to become doctors, to live in Alberta, yeah. to be a family doctor. I have a family doctor I've had for 30 years, and I'm really worried when my doctor or his wife, who's also a doctor, they have a twin practice, when they retire. I mean, they've worked very hard, and being a family physician, there's not a lot of money in it. Yep. People think doctors make a lot of money. It's not as good as it could be if you went to the States.
It's difficult to find good doctors.
Yes.
I think a lot of effort still needs to go into the healthcare, because the biggest challenge of the province is healthcare. Mm-hmm. And definitely education, because that's what we give to the next generation. That's what we are raising them up in the right way, and the right curriculum is the key here.
Yes.
And talking largely about how or what things that you think the Alberta Party will put into practice when you come there and stand up for something. What is something that is very important that your party has been discussing of bringing to the fore area?
With the education, we're not just going to throw money at it. It's going to be money spent in a way that you'll see a return, and maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years before the return actually comes. It's not going to happen in 6 months. There's so much damage done. Like, I was up at the university last week, and the students up there, they're starving. When they get out of school, there is really no jobs for them. Yeah. I mean, it's a personal choice on what you want to take, but there should be,
there should be options there.
Yes,
there should be. And being a stay-at-home dad, like you mentioned, what do you have? What is your take on the daycares? A lot has happened in the past 6 months. A lot of news have come about daycares and the way they're being handled and their recognitions, and a lot of concerns regarding that. What do you have to say about that?
It's unfortunate that there's people out there that have to have the 2-family income, or
yes.
they're a single family,
yes.
and they do have to make money. With the daycares, we have to do a better job, because that's the beginning of the education. It should be brought into the education system as well.
Right.
We just can't have this, everybody does whatever they want. These are children that, when they come out of their daycare or day home, they should be able to, know the alphabet or something. So when they start kindergarten, they're actually up there the kindergarten teachers here in Calgary Bow, wonderful, wonderful people. Just, I mean, what a great job. I could never do it, but they have such a challenge because a lot of these children have not had that influence of reading, and you know, they're kind of babysat for all those years before they start school, and then school just becomes a place like a babysitting thing. You know, and again, I credit to the teachers how hard they work.
Definitely.
They don't have the resources. They don't have the support. You know, nobody says thank you to the teachers. Do you know? And I mean.
So let's say thank you to the teachers.
Yes. Oh,
thank
definitely.
you, teachers.
Thank you, teachers, for a job well done in a time where there's just not a lot of support. And and again, that goes for the healthcare workers.
Definitely, that goes for a big thank you to the healthcare workers.
Jeez.
Because without them, we could have not seen the end of the tunnel, and we would have all been in a very zone we would have never been able to come out of without the healthcare workers.
Right.
And not to mention the people like these who can't see the other person suffering, who jump into their problem, and definitely this man has solutions. So Calgary Bow, Paul Godard is the man who definitely has a lot of solutions for you. Now it's your choice, but definitely vote.
Okay.
Voting is your right.
But you know,
to vote.
It's your right, but it's really your responsibility.
True that.
I don't think, you know, whether you vote for me or not, I'd like to be voted for, but that's really not the important thing. We are a very lucky country where we're given this time every 4 years to pick people that we would want representing us.
Right.
And if you don't vote, that's just apathy, and that's just saying you're happy with how things are. And if you are, great. I mean, God, you know, bless you for that, but you know,
So Paul,
I'm not happy.
What would be your closing lines for us, the campaign that we are trying to do? Just involve a lot of more people, trying to be the voice of the minorities, of the people, you know, who need a little push more, to reach out more. Any words for us?
You know, you mentioned minorities. Not even with the minorities. I deal with a lot of people that are quite wealthy, doing very well, and their issues are different than somebody whose everyday issue is food.
Right.
But their issues are still very important.
Right.
Job security, you know, the way the taxes are spent. Most people don't mind paying taxes. It's just you have to see some sort of benefit from it.
Definitely.
You know, carbon monoxide tester goes off, you phone 911, you have, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment show up, firefighters come in with their Scott Air pack. You know, it happened twice to us.
Oh.
Just recently.
Oh.
And to me, I thought all the taxes I paid in the last few years just covered that. You know, now if something else happened, oh my goodness, like, we get a big bang for our tax money. We just have to figure out a better way to distribute it and
let people exactly know what's happening with their money.
You know, don't put the money in a one big pot and then start pulling out.
So thank you, Alberta. Yet another person, another beautiful person who steps out of his comfort zone and makes this entire place and this entire journey for you, making this effort for you. So for you, it's more important to come out and vote for people. Choose the right candidate, but your responsibility, like Paul said, do vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.